What is up, Facebook land? Welcome to another episode of the Two Dates and a Dash podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cubbler. And before I introduce my special guest and my longtime friend, Howard Brown, I want to dedicate a show. I'm going to dedicate the show to the people of Sri Lanka. There was a very disturbing series of terrorist attacks on Easter Sunday in Sri Lanka where several hundred people were killed and even more were injured. It was an Islamic terrorist attack against Christians who were celebrating Easter. And so my dedication today is to the people of Sri Lanka, and hopefully they will recover and the people that are responsible are caught. The podcast, where can you hear the podcast? iTunes, Stitcher, Castbox, Anchor, Google Podcasts, you name it. You can find the podcast. Now, my man Howard. So, first and foremost, I've known Howard since he was in middle school. He hasn't always known me since he was in middle school, but I knew of Howard because of my friendship with his older sister, and older brother. And he's 6 years younger than me, so we're from a little bit of a different generation as far as our growing up ages. But Howard is a Pottstownian, born and raised, the greatest basketball player to ever come out of Pottstown. Went on to Villanova to play 4 years under Coach Lapis at Villanova in the late 90s. Should have been drafted, wasn't. And almost landed with the New Jersey Nets. It was the last cut, I believe, in that 1 year that he was with them. Then he went on to play 13, 14 years of pro ball overseas, Spain, Israel, you name it. He played basketball overseas and made a very nice career of himself. Met his wife in Spain, Lucy. They have a son, Dawson, and they live in the area today. And he is employed by the Pottstown Health and Wellness Foundation. He does community outreach, community relations with them. He has his own nonprofit. He's the founder of Eyeball United. I could go on, but without further ado, my buddy Howard. How are you, brother?
Doing great, man. That was a great dedication as well. Crazy times, but really appreciate that shout out to the folks in Sri Lanka and believers all over the world, right?
Amen to that. So let's jump right into the show, brother. I'm sure you've seen an episode or two, and you know I only ask one question, at least one planned question. There's many questions that come out of the show, but my only planned question, and I do have a little bit of an inside scoop on your life, so it's not like I don't know things that have happened to you, but I don't know how the show is going to go. I don't know the direction it's going to take, but I'll know as soon as I ask you this one question. Who is Howard Brown?
So Howard Brown, you touched on it, a kid from Pottstown who has been blessed and is really grateful for, the opportunity to see the world through basketball and really always, keep three things first, God, my family, and then also just a commitment to always, strive to be better in everything I do. So I think that kind of sums it all up. But at the end of the day, just a kid from Pottstown, loves my family and loves the community. And so let's appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Let's talk about Pottstown. It's a common thread for us. I know there's right now locally a lot of interest with Pottstown with trying to revitalize the community, both internally and through business and through transportation and trying to get more funding for schools. And I know with what you're doing now with the Pottstown Health and Wellness Foundation, I think maybe that's actually a better place to start. Let's talk about what is the Pottstown Health and Wellness Foundation? What is the organization designed to do, and what do you do for it?
Okay, so the Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation was actually founded about 15 years ago out of the sale of the Pottstown Hospital when it sold and purchased by a for-profit, left about $80 million in an endowment to serve a 10-mile radius around the borough of Pottstown. That's everything from healthcare access to, like you said, health and wellness in schools, and as well as, really community development but also community networks and, things like after school programs. So really, funding to benefit the area of Pottstown to really stimulate folks to live and adopt a healthier lifestyle.
And what's your actual role with them? What's your title and responsibility?
So the title is called program officer, but really what that comes down to is I'm a program officer for schools, community development. And that just means that I assist the grants committee to kind of oversee and commit or decline requests for funding in the area of school health and wellness, as well as community development initiatives. So it's something that's really fulfilling. As you know, I've always really tried to find different ways to give back to Pottstown, and this role that I'm in right now, not just to have the ability to award, money and funding and assist programs and folks who are doing some really critical services in the Pottstown area, but also, convene meetings and really kind of see what's happening in the background that can lead to, better lives for the folks that, we love. So it's, like I said, it's a really fulfilling opportunity to be a part of such a great organization.
I know professional athletes a lot of times get involved in charities and having their own foundations. And I don't know other people's situations, but I know what you did. And I know you were hands-on in yours. And a lot of times guys aren't. A lot of times professional athletes are name only. They're the name behind the foundation, but their hands-on activity isn't necessarily equal to their fame. And I think what you've done, what you did from the time that you were playing overseas with starting your nonprofit to what you did creating Eyeball and just serving the youth of the community, I think is commendable. Let's talk a little bit about your charitable giving and where that started. Where did the idea of becoming more of a philanthropist as a result of your profession and your ability to utilize your fame to have a little bit more of a higher platform for people to pay attention?
Yeah, I think just as you were saying that, I think I've told this story a few times recently, but I think it all started for me actually back in high school. Started back in high school, and probably even before that, growing up in church and just learning to give and serve. But in high school, had an opportunity to go over to Italy and represent, the U.S. in a AAU situation. Back then, it was a little different than it is now, but that was a real honor, and of course, that cost money. So at that time, we didn't have just $2,000 laying around. And something that my dad taught me really early on is that, if you need something, you can kind of write it out on a piece of paper and then take that to folks that, think may be able to help you, and just go tell them what it is that you're looking to do and how they can help. And, you can sometimes get support. So just really learn that, what the Brinishes went all over town with cans, and the outpouring of support was unbelievable. And we were able to raise the money to go to Italy. And just having that experience, that firsthand experience and really hands-on experience, at an early age, gave me the confidence, and it gave me, the idea that, if I was ever in a position to be able to give back myself to someone else in need, then I think it would be beneficial, and it'd also be something that I could do. So the idea for what was called the Live the Dream Foundation was to give a scholarship to a first generation college bound student athlete coming out of Pottstown. And it kind of gave me the spark. I played with Allen Iverson at a Iverson versus Roy Jones Jr. charity event as soon as I graduated Villanova. And outpouring of support, of course, for Iverson was insane in Philly. He was at Temple University. But just seeing so many of my peers come together, play a basketball game, and raise money for a charitable cause gave me the idea that this is something that we could probably pull off in Pottstown and raise enough funds to start, the Live the Dream initiative. So that's pretty much where it started. And then from there, with the family and friends and the community support, it grew and evolved from there. So, each year was, again, a learning experience. It was also an opportunity to kind of keep me focused on the off season. I found that being focused on that initiative kind of helped me stay on the right track at times where, I used to come home from overseas in the summer and be pulled in a million different directions. So that was kind of something that kept me focused. And again, like I said, having family support around me was unbelievable. Always has
Let's
been.
talk about that. That's what you just said there before the last sentence was being pulled in a bunch of different directions. And I think that's a challenge for many inner city urban athletes that go on and play professional anywhere. When they come home, they still have their boys that they grew up with, right? And it's tough sometimes to make the choices that do I go out and hang out and do the stuff that I was doing when I was younger, or am I professional now, and do I stick on that professional course and try to make something from this opportunity to play pro ball? And a lot of guys get caught in a trap. They get caught in that trap, but they can't make that right decision to or have balance between their friends that they grew up with and the life they're living today. Yeah,
it's tough, man. And also, you could be doing the right thing and then slip up one time and that's it. So it is a tough thing to balance. Fortunately, I did have a really good group of friends who were also always trying to push themselves to be better. And so, not deviating from, being focused and maybe hanging out a little bit, wasn't really too much of an extreme if I did want to hang out a little bit. But yeah, it is tough to stay focused. And I think, a lot of folks have talent. And of course, you're giving some God-given gifts that can contribute to your, athletic prowess. But I think it's that dedication, that focus that really sets those who are great apart from those who are, professional and really good. But those who are really focused and disciplined and everything they do, it's not just the sport itself, it's just in life. Those are the ones that we, read about and see documentaries about, because it takes that kind of commitment.
That's true. And even in non-athletes, I see a lot of naturally smart people that just use as much as that they need to use. I was literally growing up in high school. I didn't take a book home ever. I never did homework. I would do homework in the class that I was in for the next class. Like I was not a diligent student, but I was a straight A student because I had a photographic memory. So I could remember what I needed to remember for as long as I needed to remember it for, and then dump it. And I never actually learned what it was like to focus and work hard and put in effort until I left high school and went in the military. And I had a rude awakening to what was required to be not great, but just survive in the military, like just to not get my ass chewed every day. And some people learn it earlier than others. And I actually didn't learn how to be as good at things that I am today until much later in life. And, my goal in life as a mentor is to try to help kids not use their natural talents only as far as they need to, but really tap into them and focus on who they really can become. And I think, you look at the Kobe Bryants and the Michael Jordans, and just the stories of their level of focus and attention to the smallest detail is why they are the greatest of all time.
Yeah. And a lot of those guys also have some kind of, story of adversity early on. I think with Michael Jordan, we all know he got cut from his team in high school, but I think, that was really something that happened to me early on that probably changed the trajectory of my life, playing football in high school and breaking my leg as a sophomore. football player who actually was leading the league in passing, quarterback, leading the league in passing at the time I broke my leg. But anyway, like I remember crying, and it wasn't because of the pain. It was because, if my leg was broke, I was going to miss basketball. So that effort to come back, actually seeing, the guys who you had played sports with all your life lose games for the first time ever, really, on a consistent basis, and really not being able to do anything to help other than, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to come back. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to help my brothers. And just learning what, a commitment to work could lead to through coming back and, going on a state championship run and winning the title for Pottstown first time ever at that time in my life. I mean, that was just, from one extreme to the other, being down, being broken, and working my way back, and then just being on top of the world as a sophomore in high school. That was a life-changing experience for sure.
Do you think, had that not happened, your trajectory in high school to where you were Gatorade Player of the Year for Pennsylvania, do you think you would have achieved that and then wound up at Villanova?
Yeah, I don't know, but I really think that what helped me throughout my time at Villanova and then playing overseas for so many years, without that experience of really being able to fight back from, having something bad happen, like not getting drafted, and fight back and understand that, I'm good enough to play and I'm gonna keep working until it happens. I think without those experiences, my career would have been a lot different, and it may have, ended in a way that was something that I could have kind of worked my way through and overcome to be able to go to the next level. Anybody that played overseas can tell you, man, there's a lot of different situations that you're going to be in, a lot of different things you're asked to do, as far as like, your role on a team and trying to eat something that you've never seen before and be, amongst your peers in some different situations, man. So like those things, I think, prepared me early on.
So that was a great transition. We're not going to go right into pro yet. We got to talk about Villanova. Villanova is today, there was the 1985 team, right? That was the greatest championship team in the history of Philadelphia basketball at the time, and for a long time after, when they won the national title against Georgetown. And Villanova was always a prestigious basketball school. Some great basketball players came out of Villanova, and you found yourself academically one of the best schools too. You found yourself in Villanova. In your freshman year, you played with a cat named Kerry Kittles, and who went on to have a tremendous pro career with the New Jersey Nets, and just a fantastic basketball player. What was it like when you showed up on campus as a freshman, just coming off Pennsylvania State Player of the Year? You were the man, and now all of a sudden you're on the court with Kerry Kittles.
I think I've never been the kind of guy or player who kind of got overwhelmed by the people I was suiting up with or against, about their names. I just always believed that I had the talent to compete with anyone. And, so I was there to learn all I could, but also, show what I could do. I think at the same time, going to a school where you did have someone like a Kerry Kittles who played, your same position, you do go there with a mindset that, okay, I'm there to, learn everything I can. And then when this guy goes on, then it's going to be my show. So I think those are, two different things, going to a school program where maybe that foundation wasn't already established and saying, okay, I'm here to be the man. I'm the best, and everyone else is, going to contribute to that, and we're going to be great. And with my leadership, I think going into Villanova, I had a different perspective. And, there's good things, there's bad things with that. But was never really mesmerized by the guys because, really that's the reason I went. Those guys were like family. I had a really good relationship with Kerry. He was a mentor to me, and was really excited about the opportunity to play locally, at home. Basically, could have folks drive up the highway and come see me play, and then play for that story program like Villanova.
So the Big East back then is different than the Big East today. Big East back then was balling. That was Pottstown ball. That was a little bit of rough house down at the center kind of ball. And, there was Allen Iverson, who played at Georgetown, Ray Allen. There was tons and tons and tons of talent that played in the Big East during that era. What was it like physically? Like when you left the high school game to go to college, you weren't necessarily a buff giant. You weren't going to be posting up, down low, and moving people. You were a high flying scorer. What was it like physically to go play at that level coming out of high school? The adapting that was required.
Yeah, I think I was introduced to that level of ball right away. Our first tournament we played was the Maui Invitational. Against Steve Nash in my first game. And then we went on to win that, beating North Carolina, beating Vince Carter and Antoine Jameson and these guys in that. But that first game, probably my first time I subbed in. Shot goes up, I go for a rebound, and somebody just turned around with their elbow and caught me in my lip, opened me all up. So I probably played 3 minutes just with, my lip gushing, but just kind of sucking it all in and not letting anyone know so I could come out of the game. But I saw that first year, my buddy Chuck Cornegay got a rebound against Ryder, swung around to make an outlet pass and caught someone, and their whole front set here dropped onto the floor. And of course, there was a mini scruffle there, but those were the days, and that's really what was expected of you. I remember us learning how to, get through screens, and Coach Lapp would basically say, run through that screen. We're not here to run around it, run through that screen. And I literally put my head down and would try to run through screens as a freshman. Like, that's what they said we had to do. This is how you get through screens. So I'm going to run you over. And, it's always good to like not know what you're supposed to know. So, in that sense, I was just strapping them up. I remember the first time we did play Georgetown, and probably was the highlight of my freshman year where they put me on Allen Iverson in a box and one. But I just remember going into that game, and some of my teammates were talking about, "Oh man, I can't believe we're about to play Allen Iverson." And again, it was different then. It wasn't coming from Pottstown, and the way that AAU was back then. You would read about folks, you would see them on TV here and there, but those images and the magazine write-ups and everything, having guys ranked ahead of you wasn't just front and center the way it is now. So I was basically like, I don't care who's going to show up. If Allen Iverson's on the court, I don't care who it is. Let's go play. Like, we're here to win the game. So I think that kind of mentality positioned me for, the kind of success I had, at least as a freshman, and at least being able to kind of adapt to that style of play, just kind of like that naive belief in myself and in my ability to be able to, play at that level.
So you played all 4 years, which, Villanova's up until recently was never a one and done type program. There was always 4-year players. Kerry played 4 years. I mean, everybody was a 4-year player because the education was so good. The value of that education post basketball is so important. Your 4 years at Villanova, you achieved a lot of success. You played. How many times did you make the NCAA tournament?
3 of the 4.
3 of the 4 years. Which year did you not?
That was sophomore year. That was after I'm sorry. that was junior year. That was everyone after everyone left. Alvin Williams, Jason Lawson, those guys left, and it was a year to adapt to not having all that talent and experience on the floor. So it was our time to lead, and it was a lot of similar to the team this year. Although we didn't have national championship experience, right. There were a few players who had been through the fire before, but for the most part, everyone else was new. So that was the year we didn't make it. The Big East tournament, when I remember growing up watching the Big East tournament, that was the best tournament to watch. Of all the championship tournaments for the different SEC, the ACC, I always thought the Big East tournament was always the best because there were so many great Big East teams that were always in the field of 64 at NCAA. So, you always had Providence and Seton Hall and Villanova and Georgetown and St. John's, and you had all these great schools just battling. The Big East tournament, you had a couple highlights there, didn't you? Yeah, and then as you were talking about that, I was thinking the year, probably my biggest highlight in the Big East tournament it did come my junior year. That year that we were struggling, we were still trying to fight to get into the tournament. So, double overtime, time's winding down, game tied up. We get a rebound. My buddy Celestin tips it up and pitches it up to me, and I'm just in stride, 3-2-1, pull up from the NBA three and hit nothing but net. And to see that place erupt, sometimes guys will stand up on the table and pound their chest and everything, but I just remember just looking up and smiling with all my teammates mobbing me and hit me in the head, all kinds of crazy things, but just looking up and seeing that sight of Madison Square Garden going wild over a shot you just hit to advance us to the next round. That was an incredible experience that I'll never forget. But there were some battles. I mean, Pitt was always a tough out. Like you said, Providence, and then those perennial just monster programs like Connecticut at the time and the Big East, and as well as Georgetown. There were some real battles and some great basketball back then. And I see it creeping back, the physicality's coming back. But I think just because with all the rules and the way that they want to see the game play out these days, I don't know if that level of physicality will ever come back. Now, let me ask, if you were a coach and you had to pick a style of play, what would it be? If I was a coach and pick a style of play, I just think defense really does win championships. I think with defense, you can always have the opportunity to win. And, I really love the way Villanova plays now. I know they shoot a lot of threes, and I wasn't always a believer in that approach, but the threes are actually generated by strong, guard penetration and a very open court. So, you're always attacking the defense, and whether you get a layup or another opportunity, once you kind of split the defense, you're able to create some open looks for some great shooters. So, I love the way Villanova plays right now. I don't think for me it would have been the best kind of program. When I look at kind of like historically those Connecticut teams that did just run and gun and play in your face defense full court, that's the kind of player I was. So me personally back, 25 years ago, that would have been, my kind of style. We played a little bit of that at Villanova, but not full court press in your face, run and gun type of play. I don't know if that answers the question, but at the end of the day, the kind of defense that Virginia's playing, and then they do have some talented offensive players that, after years and years of experience playing together, knowing one another, really good things can happen. But that defense was the foundation.
And that's what I was where I was going to go. Thank you for answering my question. So I was leading you down the path of this year's final with Texas Tech and Virginia, because both were defensive-minded teams, strong defense. And then Virginia just had a little bit more offensive firepower. They had that one kid that could drop a three anywhere. They had some really good offensive rebounders who kept possessions alive. So Virginia was a great team this year. They weren't necessarily an exciting watch. Their games were exciting. Nothing was close.
Unbelievable.
They didn't run away with nothing. But so I think I was not a very talented basketball player. Let's just lead with that. But I was serviceable for 5 fouls in 5 minutes and get 5 rebounds. Anywhere from Spruce Street to Manatoni to the center. I could get those anywhere. But I know when I was working with the Springford girls basketball program, when they went on their state title run, they didn't win those games because of their offense. They won those games because their offense was predicated on their full court press defense. They were 60% transition baskets. They didn't have to run their half court offense more than 30% of the time because they were stealing the ball from the other opponent on their half of the court and taking easy shots. So I'm a huge defensive basketball fan, and I appreciate the amount of effort it takes, because that's literally all defense is effort. It's not, when I talk to the girls when they'd be at max out training, I'm like, you literally can control 100% of the outcome if you just play perfect defense. I said, you let go of a basketball, you got a 40% shot of making it. Those aren't the best odds, but if you have a 100% chance of stopping somebody if you put out the right effort. So I just love the whole this year's defensive the fact that the top 2 defensive teams were in the championship. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. The other thing about Virginia that I found interesting and I think really convinced me that they were going to win, even though I had someone else winning my bracket. But when I heard about Kyle Guy and his just focus and his commitment and the way he verbalized to his teammates that they were going to win a national championship. And he looks like he played the game already knowing that and then just enjoying every second of the tournament because he knew.
Froze up there, brother. We lost Howard for a second.
Crucial. And
there we go. You're back.
Okay.
You zapped out for a second.
All right. I don't know where it was, but I think that belief that Kyle Guy had and the way that he was communicating that with his teammates, and they said on a daily basis, he would tell them that we're going to win a national championship. And he just played with that feeling. You could see it. He played with the feeling like I'm winning a national championship, like every moment that I'm out here. And this is, I'm going to enjoy it. So I think that's something else that I'm learning as an older adult ex-professional player, something that I wish I would have known early on. I think they call it the law of attraction or whatever. But in some ways, as I look back, I used to do things like that. I show my son some of the pictures I used to draw in art class in the days that we had basketball games back in high school. Draw a picture of me dunking backwards or just draw a picture of something that would happen in the game. That visualization of something good that was going to happen. I think those kinds of things are important. And some people know what they're doing when they're doing that kind of stuff, and others just kind of happen to stumble upon it. But that positive belief and visualization of positive outcomes is crucial. And anything.
Mindset and the big thing now that's out in the world, in my world of speaking, is that everybody's doing emotional intelligence and mindset training, and it's all just basically having confidence in yourself, knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are, where you're going to have your best chance for success, and then doing everything in your power to maximize that opportunity, and then helping others believe in it as well. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, but we have to make things real complicated by giving them weird terminologies, but that's really what it comes down to. And I think what you described is just somebody who was so aware and super sure of not only how he was going to go out and execute on his behalf, but how he was going to get the rest of the team to not only raise their level of play, but believe that it's going to happen. I tell people all the time, I would actually say trust, because there's a difference between belief or faith and trust. Belief and faith are things that you hope to be true. You believe it without seeing it, but you're not 100% sure it's there, but you want it to be there. Trust is knowing it's there no matter what. And I think that trust in another person, that if you go back to even like to mentoring kids just want someone that they can trust, that they trust is going to be there for them, that they trust has their best interest, that they trust is going to be the one when shit goes sideways, they can turn to and say, I need your help. And that's really what a teammate is just someone that you can trust. And whether it's the military or SWAT or basketball, when you got that level of connection and that trust, I don't think you look at the Villanova first championship with that last second shot against North Carolina, there's no doubt in my mind everybody on that floor knew he was making that shot. That was wearing a
Oh yeah.
They didn't have faith in it. They knew it.
They knew it. And I think back to any championships that, I had the fortune of winning. I think beyond that trust, I think that's definitely the foundation of everything. But there was a genuine love, and a care and appreciation for everybody on that team. And, there are different levels. Of course, my buddy Tommy Harvey, I grew up around the corner with him. So that level, of trust and love was different than someone who maybe had been a walk-on or whatever, someone that kind of, joined the team kind of later on. But that real love for one another really kind of sets you apart. And that kind of beats out talent as well. That helps you fight through those times where, somebody makes a tough mistake and is, there you can go in two different ways about reacting to that mistake. But it's, we love you, man. We got you. It doesn't matter. And that does so much for everybody on the team. So just reading that attitude book that Jay Wright put out after the first championship, I think on so many different levels, spiritually, that faith and trust and love for one another and love for themselves and what they're all about was key. So another reason to love the Villanova program.
Let's talk about Jay. I think he is obviously one of the top coaches in college basketball or basketball period today. Through you, I've had a chance to meet him a couple times. And one thing I was impressed about is I met him the first time, and the two other times I met him, he remembered my name from the first time I met him a couple years ago. And I was like, whoa. He's like, you're the guy that owns that gym, Boys with Howard. I'm like, yeah. So like he remembers everything about everybody, number one. That's just uncanny.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Jay. Tell me what Jay's like.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Like you said, there was the 85, kind of like that group, and then the Lapis era, and now where Jay has taken it. I think he's built it on a premise of we played for those who came before us, and I didn't go back to any of the functions probably 3 or 4 years into Jay's run. But from the first time I stepped foot on that campus and got back with the players, he welcomed me into the room like, Howard Brown, class of 99, does this, and this, man. Welcome, brother. And introduced me to so many people. And like you said, when you see Jay, you pick up on a conversation you had with him, 2, 3, 4 months ago or a year ago. And that is unbelievable. But some of the things that he's done, of course, winning championships is always good. But some of the other things that he's done is amazing. I mean, they've established a position in the Villanova basketball program. And this is just one thing that I saw that I don't know if they're doing anywhere else, but a position for that player or players who have recently retired. And most of the times it's from overseas. So, if you are kind of phasing out of your career and don't really know what direction to go in, they have a position for you to kind of be like a mentor for the current players, but also to be like the alumni liaison. So they bring, former players back 5-6 times a year for different events, as well as, being able to go to a game whenever you want. But they bring us all back, and that person or those people in that position are kind of those who interact with alumni. So you're interfacing with so many different folks who are in so many different lines of business. And that really kind of opens your world up from, okay, basketball mode only to, okay, maybe I can leverage this relationship or get to know this person a little better, or ask any question I want about what this person does in that occupation. Or maybe I want to be a coach. So like Mike Nardi, I think he was one of the first guys who went through that program. Just so happens that he's a great coach, as well as a great player. And that position was great for him. And others have leveraged it to go on to, starting their own training companies or just, working in their local market. So I really, appreciate things like that, because that's unique to Villanova, and that just shows how much he cares. And I think another thing is, each year with Eyeball, when we would have our combine, the coaches from overseas would come and, of course, experience the combine. And then we would give them like a Philly tour. And the first stop on the tour was the Villanova campus. So a few years back, we had Coach Ashley Howard be our tour guide. And he gave us an overview about, the program and showed us the facilities. And one of the coaches, I think from Argentina, asked, with all this success, how is it that you get guys to stay committed to, playing for one another? And they have all the kind of like the mantra on the wall. It's posted everywhere. And he's like, how you get them to stay committed? And he's like, it's not anything that we have to get them to stay committed to. It's just who they are. It's the kind of guys we recruit. They come in with that belief in, the sum of the greater, the sum of the greater whole, or, but, it's not about them. And they're just about, everything as people as they are as basketball players. And I think the people component is the one that's more important, and it's really, central to what they do at Villanova right now. So I just think it's unbelievable. And I'm just going to continue to enjoy all these years that Jay's and the folks that he's put around him have to offer us, because I think it's really special.
I think, I've seen your transition. I've seen you. I mean, people don't know, but we used to talk at 3 a.m. our time here in Pennsylvania, when you were in Spain, trying to come up with your Eyeball United plan and how that was going to look and how you're going to launch it and what your goals and dreams were. And, that was a couple of years before you got out. And, you didn't always go back. Villanova wasn't always such a strong part of your life after you left college. And I think as you grew up and became more mature and had more awareness of what the world was going to offer you outside of basketball, you realized that Villanova degree has value. And that connectivity of alumni, whether it's through basketball or just through alumni who graduated from Villanova who know you played basketball there, it opens up a world of opportunity for you that I don't even think you've scratched the surface on yet. And I think there's so much more out there that you're going to gain from bringing Villanova back into your life. And I think that's cool. I think I'm excited for that, because I love watching the choices we make in our life, especially the good ones, how they bear fruit. Maybe not right away, but down the road, that decision you made bears fruit. And I think that's one of them that's going to really bear fruit.
Oh yeah, I mean it really already has, and I just think it was a different time when I was at Nova, and to really consistently see that what is being offered as far as Villanova basketball alumni and that brotherhood is real. I think kind of bringing folks who I went to school with back into that and strengthen it even more is going to be important, and then also serve as a mentor to the guys who are coming up and coming out and spreading their wings. I mean, I really wish there was like a course on how to really understand and take advantage of the network that you have, not only at Villanova, but just as a college, student athlete. Because I think if more folks really understood that, a place like Eyeball wouldn't really have to exist, because you would get so many, you could get so much guidance from all the knowledge that is already there. And you can really make better choices with the direction that you want to do with, your basketball career, your professional career, and you can be making them proactively as opposed to what we see, folks reacting to their current situation. I know there's going to be some changes down the line. I'm excited with what the NCAA may decide as far as, compensating athletes, but just the approach, and some programs do it better than others, the approach to really understand the magnitude of opportunity that you have to be a college student athlete is really important. And just to kind of connect kids with, ways to leverage it is something I think is missing, which I'm hoping that they're going to kind of take care of in a more systematic way going forward.
So let's talk a little bit about Eyeball, and we have about 15 minutes left in the show, and I want to talk about international basketball. The career you had there, the highs and lows, and then why Eyeball exists. So let's start with, you go overseas. You make the decision. You have an opportunity to go play overseas. Where was the first place you went to go play?
Yeah. That's funny. So like you said, tried out for the Nets, didn't work, got cut, bounced around to all kinds of different US-based semi-pro leagues, and really trying to get back into the NBA. And when that didn't happen, it was, now what? So I reached out, my buddy Chuck Cornegay, a few of the guys who were already playing overseas from Villanova, and he got my videotape. So this is 99, 2000. He got my videotape in the hands of an agent over there, and that opened up the door for me. At that time, he was playing for the Spanish national team. But that opened up the door for me to go to Ferrol, Spain, where they say that it rains every day in the plains of Spain. Like Ferrol, Spain was the upper northwest of Spain. And, went there making next to nothing, but just with the belief and an opportunity to go there. And I really, kicked the door in. I was ready. I just wanted to dominate, averaged, I think, 28 points, and just showed everything I could do offensively, because I thought that was what was keeping me back from getting into the NBA. So I was really dominant that year. And from there, the opportunities, continued to come to have opportunity to be a defender, but also to score the ball. So from there, went to Portugal, and really had an opportunity. One opportunity led to the next, and I wasn't always asked to be a dominant scorer. As I matured and got more tenure playing overseas, I think after I left Israel and saw a little bit of South America and Venezuela, those are more grown man basketball. So more physical, more, playing from an intellectual standpoint as opposed to athleticism. So I think what I learned was to always be learning, always adapting. And I really also took pride towards the end of my year in being able to go into any team, and of course embracing a new city and understanding what all that what comes along with that, embracing a new culture and history, and not only of the city itself, but of the program. But I think being able to adapt and play different roles, that was a lot of fun. And I think Eyeball came from, again, coming home each year and having guys who I worked out with, asking me, hey, can you holler at your agent for me? Or seeing people who went through my same struggle. They might not have known that I would work at night and wake up in the morning, or work at night and go straight to work out in Philly with Aaron McKee and Eddie Jones and these guys, and then go to a job that I had from college, work there, and then go straight to another workout. They wouldn't really know all that, but I would see them going through kind of like the same struggle with the belief that they could make it, and saying to myself, these are some pretty good players. Why aren't they signed? And and really understand, like, it didn't come down to talent. It just came down to, being able to answer the call, and taking it upon yourself to not only, work on the business of basketball, but, work on the business aspect of getting your name out there and presenting yourself in the most professional way. And there were so many people who just concentrate on basketball, but had no clue as to how to go about marketing themselves. So that, along with the fact that there were other folks on the other side of water who were getting players that were not what they were looking for. And that was based on, the trust of maybe an agent, or maybe someone who was selling them something that didn't fit what their need was. So seeing it from those two points of view helped me understand that there was a gap there, and then there may be an opportunity to fulfill that gap with a service called Eyeball United, who was, connecting players to those opportunities, but also educating them along the way. It's been about 6 years now, and from the days of those 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls, and you mentoring me along the way, to, doing the first combine, and then, number of combines. We've learned a lot along the way. We've had, actually journeyed into representing coaches. I have a former coach of mine who we placed for the Pottstown national team. So he's their head coach, to, placing players in all parts of the world, even parts that I've never even been to. But at the same time, the market has evolved, it's changed. And where it was really important to get your stuff out there and present it in the right way, so that you could potentially fill an opportunity that was really fruitful, where you were going to get all your money, you're on time, and it would be a pretty good wage to enter, right? To also, get food, flights, car. It wasn't NBA money and it wasn't NBA lifestyle, but it was something that was very beneficial. It was a great platform to kind of build off of. It's not really like that anymore. So we're starting to see more and more that the entry-level opportunities are really low. So players need to even be more educated about what path they're looking to choose, because, you could choose a life of just trying to get a job, trying to get a contract for, 5, 6, 7 years, and not have that happen, or maybe have it happen and not earn next to anything. And now you're almost 30, 27, 28 years old, almost 30. And basically all you have for your resume is that, I averaged 10 points and 6 rebounds, and almost 30. What else do I have to offer? So players really need to be educated about these decisions they make, because the market has changed so much. And, right now, I think we even talked about which direction does Eyeball go. And I think that message in itself right there is one that players might not want to hear, but they need to really be aware of, because if it's not the NBA calling, if it's not the D-League calling, or if it's not top level calling you, and you are out there, sitting around waiting for somebody to call on you, you know how that works. That doesn't happen. If it's you knocking on those doors and folks aren't answering, then you really need to look in the mirror and understand the path that you're going to choose, because it's already hard enough to make $1 out here. And like I said, your network that you have when you're in college is probably the biggest network you've ever been tapped into. So you really need to understand how to leverage that.
Yeah, I think that's having been through on this journey with you and seen it evolve and the amount of work and effort, and quite frankly, sometimes it didn't return the same the amount of effort and time and energy that went into it. You didn't get that back in return. And I know a lot of the guys, since I do the physical combine component of it, a lot of these guys, there's no way on God's green earth they would ever survive in a foreign country. And I think that's a real thing. Like, not everybody is built to adapt, especially guys that are coming from inner cities and they never left that inner city and they don't have a whole lot of experience, being on their own and adapting to a foreign, somebody speaks a different language, or customs are different, or food's different, the size of the bed's different. Like, everything's different when you go overseas. And it's just not everybody's built for that. And that's one of the things I really noticed is a lot of guys just weren't, they think they want that, but they're not prepared. They want to go play basketball. That I know they can do, but it's all that other stuff that comes with surviving internationally. I don't think you would have made the career you had if you weren't able to adapt. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the more I look at it, and of course, like you said, I have a son, 10-year-old, and you're starting to see even the parents that are looking at their kids and looking to pursue opportunities in basketball, baseball, whatever, football. It's some of the same thing. Like, when I get calls to check out a kid who's maybe a junior in high school or a senior in high school, and the parent is saying, my kid's good enough to play on whatever level. I just ask that question. Are you receiving offers, or are people, reaching out to you? And if the answer is no, then what are you doing to get your kid out in front of as many college coaches, or getting that video in front of as many programs as possible? And the answer is not doing anything. Then it's almost like, don't waste my time, because you have a lot of work to do. And actually the kid should own that work, as opposed to you doing everything for them. Because, there's a lesson in that as well. And these opportunities, they don't fall out of the sky. And if you're not being, offered one, a real one, some research behind that too, offered a real opportunity, and nothing's really happening, then you got a lot of work to do. So we're in this transition mode. I've always heard great things about the combines and the camps. I know last year we did a youth combine, and they said that this was, one of the more advanced experiences they've ever had, because of the amount of attention to detail that folks like you and the team really help to put into the program. But also, for the pros, it's like they understand that we really care about them. And while we probably produced, I think over the years, about 17% of the players who came through our program were able to, be signed. And that number just was not the number we were setting out for. I think those who weren't successful did understand that it was a genuine experience, and it wasn't a money grab, like so many of these opportunities, so many of these camps and these things are thrown at guys in every different direction, and girls. So again, always learning, always getting better, and we'll see what the future has, for eyeball. We are taking the group of guys who we have been successful with placing and doing more hands-on with representation with that. And I have some great guys, around the world who are helping to oversee those relationships with teams and with players. And I'm excited for the future. I'm also right now really focusing in on family and enjoying this time that I have with my son as he, takes these steps.
to play his first, baseball games and experience basketball and sports. So I'm really enjoying that, and really just being here, be a great, best husband, best dad, and then best friend I can be. So I'm excited, man. I appreciate this opportunity to be on the show with you, and I already know you're going to continue at it, and I can't wait to see how many more things come for you as well. Because talking about somebody who never sleeps, I don't know what clone is being interviewed right now with me, but I appreciate you, man, and every one of your clones for everything you do.
I love you. I appreciate you being on, and I think that's a really good way to end. And I think my goal when I do the show is to have people on that are real and true and are doing great things, not necessarily because they played basketball, but because they're great people. And I think having you on was one of my goals. And as much as I try to help and mentor you, I enjoy watching you succeed, and I enjoy watching you go through the process of learning and the process of asking why things are the way they are. And I love watching you when we're at Eyeball or we're at somewhere and Dawson's around, and I love watching how he watches you. And I think that's cool. And that's when you're doing a good job as a dad. So I love you. We'll talk more this week, I'm sure. And for everybody, if anybody wants to help Pottstown, we need help. We need help getting the community back. We need help with investing in the downtown. We need help in the schools. We need help in the community. So if anybody is interested, David Charles is a good friend of ours, is leading the charge. Howard working through the Pottstown Health and Wellness Foundation. People at the school district are helping. So if anybody's from the area and they want to get involved and become a positive change maker, please do that. And with that, I would like to thank everybody for watching this episode of the 2 Dates and a Dash podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cubbler. Again, thank you, Howard Brown, for being on the show. Everything that you've brought to the show has been inspirational, and people have learned, and I think they got a better appreciation for what it's like to have played basketball and been through the Villanova world and overcoming adversity and turning your life into a businessman, an entrepreneur, and a philanthropist. I think is really awesome. So everybody have a great day. Thank you for watching. God bless, and go out and be kind to one another.